Reading another Bible chapter today because I have no knowledge whatsoever about anything in Christianity or the Bible. So this is my first time reading and just share my honest thoughts and reactions. So I've never read past the book of Genesis, but I did want to go back and reread like Genesis 1 through 25-ish or so because I feel like I didn't really have an understanding of what was going on. So today I'm reading Genesis 8. So the flood recedes. Join me if you want. Noah, he jumped in a boat that God gave him all the knowledge to build. Noah is the righteous of everyone on earth. Apparently, all the people and livestock and everything else has been destroyed besides what Noah brought on, which was his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives. All the other people have been killed, apparently. And there was been, 7 pairs of animals and such that Noah had to bring on for sacrificing and eating, and 7 pairs of and other animals that they brought. So if everything is gone on earth, Noah's just out there on a ship. So it is a good question, like, where do we go from here? Because we had all these descendants from Adam and Cain and the Nephilites and God's sons. Where did they all go? Where did all these people go? Because it's really unfortunate. And all those innocent people too, that God was like, hey, there's a bunch of evil happening here, but you wanted to wipe people out because you saw what God's sons were doing. Those people were innocent. Makes me wonder. Okay, so let's get into Genesis 8. The flood recedes. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and livestock with him in the boat. He sent a wind to blow across the earth, and the flood waters began to recede. The underground waters stopped flowing, and the torrential rains from the sky were stopped. So the flood waters gradually receded from earth. After 150 days, exactly 5 months from the time the flood began, the boat came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. I'm going to mess up a lot of names also. 2.5 months later, as the waters continued to go down, other mountain peaks became visible. One little note here is the underground waters stopped flowing and the torrential rains from the sky were stopped. So previously, it was going to be 40 days of rains and the ground from the water was not mentioned, but now it does say that. So it probably was also those springs that brought the floods higher. So after another 40 days, Noah opened the window he had made in the boat and released a raven. The bird flew back and forth until the flood waters on the earth had dried up. He also released a dove to see if the water had receded and it could find dry ground. But the dove could find no place to land because the water still covered the ground. So it returned to the boat, and Noah held his hand and drew the dove back inside. After waiting another 7 days, Noah released the dove again. This time the dove returned to him in the evening with a fresh olive leaf in its beak. Then Noah knew that the floodwaters were almost gone. He waited another 7 days and then released the dove again. This time it did not come back. It's kind of quick, like what, 21 days there, 7. Noah was now 601 years old. On the first day of the new year, 10.5 months after the flood began, the floodwaters had almost dried up from the earth. Noah lifted back the covering of the boat and saw that the surface of the ground was drying. 2 more months went by, and the last of the earth was dry. Then God said to Noah, "Leave the boat, all of you, you and your wife, and your sons and their wives. Release all the animals, the birds, the livestock, and the small animals that scurry along the ground, so they can be fruitful and multiply throughout the earth." So Noah, his wife, and his sons and their wives left the boat, and all the large and small animals and birds came out of the boat, pair by pair. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and there he sacrificed as burnt offerings the animals and birds that had been approved for that purpose. And the Lord was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice, and said to him, "I will never again curse the ground because of the human race, even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood. I will never again destroy all living things. As long as the earth remains, there will be planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night." That feels very important there at the end, that statement. I'm going to reread that here. And the Lord was pleased with the aroma of the sacrifice and said to himself, "I will never again curse the ground because of the human race, even though everything they think or imagine is bent toward evil from childhood. I will never again destroy all living things. As long as the earth remains, there will be planting and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night. Basically creating these seasons to make it very difficult for people, yet create the struggles, it sounds like, no matter what.